Welcome to today's episode of the 20-Minute Mastermind. I'm your host, Joanna Priest, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about blogging. We're going to be doing a series of 3 podcasts about blogging, and then we're going to be exploring other options of ways to get content and materials to you. Maybe launching its own separate podcast for blogging if it's particularly popular. If you're listening to this on a podcast distribution such as iTunes or Stitcher, you can check out the video of this on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. We are CertFix on YouTube. And you can find links to all of this on the show notes page if you are driving. You don't want to write anything down. We're going to start with some things about the basics and types of blogs and how to set one up. If you're completely new to this and you don't know much about blogs, it can kind of help to hear about some other people that are what they're doing with their blogs. Technically, my podcast is a blog. So the site that you just saw up on the screen, that is a WordPress site hosted through iPage. You can install WordPress this way or many other different blogging services and run your blog that way. Have your own backend login and click on post, and things like that can be sent out through your blog that way. When I go back to the screen to show you, the podcast episodes are listed on that page. So similarly, that's where your blog would be. So that's a quick introduction to that. That's what it'll look like if you have something similar set up. I use Shortcodes Ultimate to create that list you see there of posts. I have it aggregate on certain pages. Each of the podcasts have their own post, and so each of those categories show up respectively on those lists. So what are some different types of blogs? We talked a little bit about mine, obviously, as a podcast. What else can you do with your blog? Well, there's so many different blogs out there. Anything you can think of, you can create a blog for it. Blogs are traditionally thought of as your or somebody else's opinion about a specific topic or recent event, or a journaling exercise. So if this is a record of your life or your family, then that kind of thing. Maybe a journal of what you cook every night would be more niche. And when I say niche, I mean more uniquely narrowed down to a specific topic. Generally speaking, when you're talking about blogs, the more niche you go, the more popular you are because you'll have a lot less competition for that specific niche. So let me just give you an example. First, let's say if you do a craft of some kind, woodworking or quilting, then you may have more competition in that realm, but you're pretty niche. You can niche it down even further if you only carve, with your woodworking, you only carve fish or something along those lines. I think that that's a really, really small niche, but you never know. If you are in that, it may be big enough to support your blogging endeavors. I've seen bass fishing, right? A niche about bass fishing where all you do is just talk about trolling motors. I think that's what they're called. And that's a niche because those people that are looking for that specific thing, they are your audience for that specific topic. And there's really not going to be that much competition out there for that. With quilting, there's a lot more exposure of quilting, but if you have a specific style of quilting that you prefer, hand sewing quilts or something like that, that would be another great blog niche. So what are some other things? Obviously, you can use it for business or fun or family or journaling. You can use it as an informational reference if you are trying to create a reference dictionary of terms or introduce something about your quilting. You could have topical information, very, very niche down to little pages or little blog post about each of those little informational references. As we talk about business and how you can make money from your blog, that's probably the biggest draw for a lot of people of why they want to create a blog about their life or about anything, is that they would like to monetize all of the information that they're working with. So from any of these frames, the informational, the journaling, the family, the fun, whatever, there's usually a way that you can organize it on a blog and monetize it with the right audience. What kind of blog do you want to create? Do you want to create a text-only blog? Do you want to have text and photos? Maybe you're a photographer and this is going to feature certain photos you take. Maybe it's going to be used as a business page for you and you're going to use it in that manner. Another popular way to do a blog is with video. Whipping out a camera on your cell phone is the easiest way to do this in some place that's not with too much external noise. You can record a quick clip of whatever it is you're doing, instructional or informational, even your family, and post that on your blog, and then you can have blog posts in that manner being video posts. So how would you pick your theme? Is it personal versus topical? It really depends on what your target audience is, and I'll talk more about that later. But for your theme, if it depends on what you want to do. Usually, if you want to make money from your blog, a topical blog is better than personal. Because if you think about it, the people that love everything that you do is a very small subset of the population, right? Like, there's just not this huge fan club that loves every aspect about your life. So for journaling, it's a little bit harder to monetize unless you're an international superstar. For topical, you have more access to anybody out there on the World Wide Web that is looking for something about that topic. Now, you have to kind of get in front of them somehow, but there's ways to do that so that way you can grow as a topical blog more so than a personal. For example, as a personal blog, you may have pictures of your cat, pictures of your kids, pictures of what you ate that day, things like that. Where topical would be more niche, again, it would be very reserved to the bass fishing trolling motors or the hand sewn quilts, that kind of thing. So when you're thinking about that and you're thinking about selecting your niche, you really want to drill down to the smallest niche that you think will provide you a large enough audience. And finding out how you're going to have a large enough audience is usually a conversation of what you're going to do if you're getting business from this. If it's going to be like a photo blog, how many customers could you handle? What would you do if you got them? That determines how many visitors and things like that you may need on your blog. If you're going to be driving ad traffic and this is just going to be passively creating income for you, then of course as many visitors as possible would be wonderful, and you want to encourage that. The best way to do that is niche down very small, get some very loyal following, and then grow your niche, widen your niche just a little bit while it's still relevant in that topic. So for example, if you're doing your hand sewn quilts, you may branch off and have a second category, which we can talk about that on how to do that on WordPress. If you already have your hand sewn quilt blog, you can on the same website create a new category for now sewing quilts with a sewing machine, something like that. Still relevant to the quilters. While it may be a larger niche, you may reach another circle of the population that likes the general quilting, but this new larger niche can now support a larger traffic for your ads and banners and things that you're posting, affiliates that you're posting on your blog to actually monetize that traffic. So what are the different hosting types? There's paid hosting and there's free hosting, and by hosting I mean where your blog is going to sit. Web pages actually do live somewhere. They're not just ethereal out there in the ones and zeros. They live on something called a server, and whoever owns that server is either giving it to you for free for something, or they're letting you live on their server for money. If it's free, then usually you're not going to be selling something because the advertising on your page goes back, the money from the advertising there goes back to the hosting company that is allowing your page to sit on their server and take up that space. Imagine, for lack of a better, a hard drive. You're sitting and taking up that space, and they're going to require something in return. Usually it's traffic to their paid services. So people go to your blog, they see your site, and they see their hosting link or whatever on your free page, and then it can direct traffic to the hosting company that is allowing you the free space and bandwidth and all the other things that come with hosting a web page. With paid hosting, you usually buy some sort of a monthly plan, and with your monthly plan, there could be any number of more amazing features. You usually get a lot more things with your paid than you would with a free plan. With the paid hosting, you pay either monthly or yearly for your space on the server. With both paid and free, there usually comes some sort of back-end software. You log in and post your blog, you type it, and then you copy and paste, or you can type it right there in the back end of the software and then post to your audience. And this is where you control other things like the look and the photos and all of those other great things. Each of these has a very different way of editing and creating, and it's something you just have to get familiar with each particular hosting type and with each provider. So there's different ways, like with paid hosting, you can choose a different program that or website, I guess, software that you're going to install onto your hosting, onto your domain name, that is going to be your back-end software that you're going to use on your web page. This gets installed for you. You just kind of click, if depending on what hosting service you use, usually there's some sort of control panel that you log into your hosting service, and you click on the installation and get that going, and there's tutorial videos all over the internet for them. I have many, but most of them are geared toward iPage since that's what I use, and WordPress, Blogger, and Tumblr. So these three, in my opinion, are the biggest, and they're the ones that I've always had blogs on, so you can kind of pick. There are free options for all three of them, and there is paid options definitely for WordPress. So I have them all, and I will show you them all on videos on YouTube if you're interested in learning more about that. So that's kind of the difference, a big broad overview of paid hosting versus free hosting. With each and every single one of them, there are benefits that you need to kind of evaluate based on what you want for your blog. If you're bootstrapping this and you want to create a business for your blog, it's pretty easy to roll with iPage. You can do it for, under $100. If you want to do paid hosting, you want to set up a WordPress page, you want to have affiliates on your blog, and you want to drive traffic that way, pretty quick, pretty easy. If you want it totally free and you don't want to pay a dime, you can totally do that. Blogger and Tumblr are both great options for that, and the way that you set those up is also on YouTube. The setting up can take a lot of, let's see. The setting up can take a lot of time, and if you're not really savvy with different websites and their elements and designs, you may want to consider outsourcing your setup and design just to get the ball rolling. There's multiple ways to do this. I prefer Odesk, but you can also get someone on Fiverr and Craigslist. I'll put links to all of this in the show notes. The different ways that you would outsource these things, you probably should watch a YouTube tutorial about them. With Odesk especially, you have to vet who you're going to be assigning this project to and make sure that they know what they're doing, make sure they have previously completed jobs of this nature. So I have recorded a few tutorials about that on our YouTube channel, and you can check those out about how to get your blog set up reasonably cheaply on Odesk, Craigslist, or Fiverr. Of course, the cheapest way is always to learn it yourself, but There's always the time versus money equation. So if you work a day job and you're starting to try to get this, it may be worth it to throw $50 into getting this set up and get it rolling, and then move forward on getting your blog posted. Another way that you can do it is you can join a class on Udemy or attend a workshop. So if these are some things that are available in your area, obviously Udemy is everywhere, but attending a workshop, maybe community colleges in your area or a library workshop, something along those lines, you can check that out. Another idea is to join a Facebook blogging for beginners support group. So you could kind of ask questions, find out what everybody else is doing, check out what somebody else is doing on their websites and that kind of thing. So this was just a really fast overview of everything that I kind of roll through. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that you can implement this. So this is mine. This is obviously the podcast website. On the sidebar here, I have a find a podcast search box. That means that if I've got a topic on here and someone wants to learn about it, they can pop something into this find a podcast category and see if I've ever done a podcast about it. Similarly, if you're doing hand-sewn quilts and they want to know if you've ever done one with a cat on it, they can type in cats or cat, and hopefully that will pop up so that they can read that post or see the pictures of it if it's a photo blog or a video if it's a video blog, things like that. The next thing I have on here is guest recommended tools and resources. So a great way to monetize your blog is to have tools and resources that are either sewing supplies or trolling motors from other places. You're going to use an affiliate link that when people go to your blog and they read about it and they read the reviews or whatever, and then they click on those links to go to these other sites, those sites then track that link and give you money. So you can do that with anything that you are using on your blog, if you're on Amazon or any affiliates like Linkshare or what's the other one? I'm going to do a whole separate podcast about monetizing your blog, so don't worry too much about that. I just wanted to run through that because it's a big question on a lot of people's minds of like, what's the fastest way to use this content with very little traffic? And that would be it. If you have a particularly expensive item that people are curious about, say you're a photographer and you use a specific camera, linking to that on another like Amazon for purchase is a great way. It's a big ticket item that would get you the most in affiliate commissions. So that's a quick tip for you there. We're almost at the end of this show. I just want to thank you guys for listening, and if you have any questions, feel free to email me, joanna@certfix.com. You can check us out on iTunes and Stitcher. Rate and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to our videos and they'll come to you whenever we publish them. Thanks so much for listening.